British Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary Dominic Raab has resigned following an investigation into complaints about his professional behavior from several civil servants. Raab, who denied belittling and demeaning his staff, claimed that the investigation sets a dangerous precedent and could encourage spurious complaints. However, he felt duty-bound to accept the outcome and resigned, becoming the third senior government minister to leave over issues of personal conduct since Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister. Raab's departure creates a double-edged sword for Sunak, whom he had previously supported, and comes amid growing animosity between the civil service and the government. The United States is preparing for a potential evacuation of American citizens in Sudan by sending additional troops to Djibouti. The violent power struggle between two leaders of Sudan's ruling council has killed over 330 people, causing the United Nations to call it a humanitarian catastrophe. Djibouti has become essential to U.S. operations in Africa and the Middle East, and the U.S. pays $63 million annually to secure the base. While White House spokesperson John Kirby stated that Americans aren't being targeted, it is a dangerous situation in Sudan. The U.S. Embassy in Khartoum urges U.S. citizens to remain sheltered indoors due to the ongoing fighting and security forces activity. In a rather explosive mistake, a Russian Sukhoi 34 supersonic warplane accidentally fired a weapon into the city of Belgorod, injuring 3 people and causing damage to buildings and cars. The governor of the Belgorod region declared a state of emergency, and thankfully, there were no fatalities. While the incident is slightly comical in how absurd it is, it raises serious concerns about Russia's ongoing military operation in Ukraine and the potential risks it poses to innocent civilians in nearby areas. Indian journalist Paranjoy Guha Thakurta has been reporting on the Adani Group's business practices since 2015, covering allegations including overcharging for coal and benefiting from changes in power plant rules. Adani has filed defamation suits against Guha Thakurta, who resigned as editor of the Economic and Political Weekly in 2017 after an article he wrote about Adani was pulled. U.S. investment research firm Hindenburg Research's January 2021 report accusing Adani of brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud referred to Guha Thakurta and other journalists. India's Supreme Court has appointed an independent team of experts to investigate the allegations, which Adani has denied. Guha Thakurta believes regulatory authorities need to investigate the allegations and that legal actions against journalists have a chilling effect on press freedom. Social media platform Twitter has removed its state-affiliated and government-funded labels for media outlets, including China's Xinhua and the Global Times and Russia's RT. Meanwhile, publicly funded Western outlets, such as NPR in the US, the BBC in the UK, and Canada's CBC, have also lost their government-funded label. The changes came without announcement and appear to have followed controversy over Twitter's labeling of state-run and state-funded media. Elon Musk's influence over Twitter has been the subject of recent debate, with critics claiming he is undermining the legitimacy of publicly funded broadcasters. The recent Saudi-Iran rapprochement may have brought peace to some areas of the Middle East, but it has yet to impact Lebanon's political deadlock. The country has been without a president for months, and a presidential vacuum only adds to Lebanon's institutional paralysis and economic crisis. Lebanon's ruling elite has long been aligned with foreign powers for economic stability, and the rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia hasn't helped with the situation. The situation worsens as the ruling class has been blamed for the financial collapse that hit Lebanon in 2019, and the country has lost more than 90% of its value. The Saudi-Iran agreement has already pushed for Syria's reintegration into the Arab League, but it looks to be stagnant in the face of presidential deadlock among Lebanon's rival parliamentary blocs. Today's live blog on the conflict in Sudan has been a hoot, but all good things must come to an end. Don't worry though, we've kept you informed with the latest developments on this complex issue throughout the day. Let's hope for an end to the fighting and a brighter future for the Sudanese people. Opposition figures in Tunisia are concerned about the next move of President Kais Saied, following the detention of Rached Ghannouchi, the leader of the opposition party, Ennahda, and the closure of the party's offices. Ghannouchi was charged with conspiracy against state security after making comments warning about the potential for civil war if Tunisia's various political currents were excluded. Some Tunisians support his arrest, while others believe it will damage the country's standing internationally and increase isolation. Western countries have shown little interest in advocating for political pluralism or supporting human rights in Tunisia, making the future uncertain for political parties, civil society organizations, and unions. Sudan's paramilitary group RSF is announcing a 72-hour ceasefire that coincides with Eid al-Fitr, a Muslim holiday. The ceasefire will allow citizens to greet their families and evacuate after days of violent fighting with the army. However, the ceasefire seems shaky, with continued fighting moments before it was meant to start. World leaders have been calling for a ceasefire and urging civilians to reach safety. At least 350 people have lost their lives in the conflict so far, and the massive displacement of people signals a significant crisis, with thousands fleeing Khartoum and many others crossing into Chad. In the 60th week of Russia's war on Ukraine, Ukrainian forces continued to hold their ground in the eastern city of Bakhmut, despite ceding territory to Russian advances. Both sides claimed the other was suffering greater attrition casualties. President Putin appeared displeased with his army's performance during a winter offensive, leading to reported power shifts, and has been seemingly favoring the Wagner group of mercenaries to achieve state aims. New evidence suggests Wagner has committed crimes against humanity, potentially embroiling Putin in legal trouble. Ukraine continued to assemble equipment and train its fighters for a counter-offensive, and received support from Canada, Britain, and Germany. Meanwhile, Prigozhin warned that the Ukrainian armed forces should go on the offensive soon or risk losing their combat potential.